I just read the craziest review of my life. What do you mean stretch and hydrate before you use this toy? Yes, toy, like buzz, buzz, zzz, zzz. You know, the grown people stuff. And we're about to read it together because this is insane. Having read everyone's reviews, I had high expectations, but with the price being under $50, I wasn't actually going to be shocked if it was mediocre. A few friends of mine bought it recently and told me of its power. I was warned to take the day off, hydrate, and above all, do stretches. Stretch? Hydrate? Is this a job? I thought they were being such drama queens. It was delivered within 2 days of ordering, and it's already off to a good start. Opening the very discreet box. Instructions say 2.5-hour charge time. Not too bad. I plugged this little bad boy in. While the kids are at school waiting for it to charge, killing time reading some erotica my friend and fellow queenie recommended because I don't have time to screw around waiting to get into the mood. I have to get the kids in a few hours and I need to be ready to go when this thing is done charged. TikTok, welcome to motherhood. Patiently waiting me, checking to see if this light has stopped blinking every 10 minutes like a crackhead waiting for his dealer. Girl, you can't be this down bad. I played with the settings on my hand to test the fine machinery out. The vibration for the G-spot part is quite strong. I was impressed with that even before use. Next was suction. So many levels. It was interesting to see different patterns and strength. There are 10 levels for clitoral and 10 patterns for the spot. I've never used a Le Creme de la Meow Meow section type stimulator. I have nothing to compare it to, but looked forward to it nonetheless. Time to solo party. This is I found placement for the private island a bit low for my body shape. It took me a few minutes to get everything where it needed to be. That was a bit time consuming and slightly frustrating. I get it. You got to pick up the kids in a few hours. You don't got time. Okay. But as with any new toy, it's trial and error. I started with the on low, which I barely even felt. Unbeknownst to me, it wasn't lined up 100%. So me being me, I decided to go from 0 to 60 in 3.5. You're insane. I hit the suction button setting to level 5 or 6 and hit the G-spot button as well. I made a minor adjustment on suction placement. At least I think that's what happened because I'm pretty sure I blacked out. My legs went straight out like goats who faint when scared. I never delivered so fast and so hard in my life. I exploded. I have never done that. Luckily, I put a towel down because I hate wet spots. Frantically tried to turn it off, but ended up hitting buttons like a maniac, sending to an even stronger suction. And now varying pulses from the G-spot toy. It came again. I'm pretty sure I levitated. This time, my soul left me. God himself said, "My child, it is not your time. Go back to the little pink light." What the fuck? I'm brought back into my earthly body after managing to pull it, throwing it across my bed. Falls to the floor, still buzzing happily away. I shook for a good 5 minutes. I couldn't get up off the bed if I wanted to. I stared at my ceiling dazed, trying to remember who I am and what year this is. What toy is this? It's getting hot. I get up to clean up and realize in my seizure-like deliverance, I hurt my hip and back. I'm still hopping 4 hours later. I did not stretch enough. So in conclusion, this met and exceeded expectations. Hydrate. Make sure you don't have to do anything that involves decisions or brain power for the rest of the day. And for the love of God, stretch like you're about to run a 500-meter dash. I may or may not have placed an order. I'm grown. But I trust this woman with my life. I do. And you should too.
I went through his phone. So there was this guy that I was talking to last year, and we're going to call him Audacity because he sure did have a lot of it. And yes, he was Nigerian. So on one fateful night, I went out to the club with Audacity and some of his friends. Had a great time, you know, they were playing my piano. I was doing hits that I'm not. I was talking to one of his homegirls and she's just telling me, oh, you know, he's been really excited about you. Can you come? And just, you know, speaking positively about our situation. So after the club, me and Audacity go to his car because he's gonna drop me home. We get to the car, he gives me his phone and he's just like, oh, like you can play whatever music you want. You know, he needs to go and talk to somebody real quick. So, you know, I'm just scrolling through Apple Music. I'm like, do I want to play Rema? Do I want to play on my piano? And as I'm scrolling through the music, I'm seeing his notifications come in. And that's when a light bulb goes off in my head. If his homegirl said that he'd be geeking about me, let me search up my name in his phone. Because if you truly want to know how somebody feels about you, look at the way they speak to their friends about you. Why am I seeing messages of him and this girl? We're gonna call this girl Stacy. He's texting Stacy, say please daddy. I said, say please who? My vision started to blur, like I was genuinely seeing double. As my vision is blurring, I'm scrolling through the messages. I'm seeing him call Stacy my heart mama. He's begging her to send pictures of herself, you know, just a lot of like flirty, sensual messages. Stacy is now texting him, oh, this rose is no joke. I said, why would she be texting him about one singular rose? But then it clicked and I said, oh, he now replied, you didn't even wait for me to get home. I said, home? Where is home for you? Blood in my eyes. Guys, I was physically sick to my stomach, like I wanted to vomit. But what really got me is that him and Stacy were talking about me in those messages, as in she knew who I was. So not only have you been lying to me this entire time, you even have the audacity to go and talk about me to the girl. Mind you, all of this happened within the span of like 3 minutes, so I didn't see that much, but I saw enough. And this was my first time ever going through somebody's phone, so like I didn't really know how to react. I didn't say a single word the entire car ride home. He drops me home, I call my homegirl, I crash out, then I now text him, delete my number and never speak to me again. So he now calls me. I let him know that I know about Stacy, and what does he do? He acts stupid and starts singing Ashake on the phone. I wish I was joking. Long story short, he continued to act stupid and tried to gaslight me. So what did I do? I blocked him. Moral of the story, fear men and focus on yourself. Bye.
Put a finger down if one weekend you have no plans, so you decide you're gonna go to this mall by your new place that you've never been to and have a little treat yourself day. And so you get to the mall and it's huge and you're walking around, you see the store that you wanna go to, so you start walking towards the store and you realize that there's a crowd of people standing outside of the store and they're all huddled around and kind of looking up at the ceiling and watching what you think is a bird flying back and forth, and you're not fazed because you used to work at Home Depot and they used to fly into the store all the time and build their little nest in the rafters, but they were completely harmless. So you keep walking through the crowd to the store that you want to go to. And then you make direct eye contact with this thing because it starts flying literally straight at you. And you realize in that moment that it's actually not a bird and that it's a bat. And it's also 1 p.m. in the afternoon. And so the bat is probably rabid. And it doesn't look like it's flying anywhere else except straight at you. So you obviously start freaking out a little bit. You flail your arms, you scream, and then you don't see the bat anymore. And now you're feeling embarrassed because there's a crowd of probably 20 people around and they're all staring at you because you just made a scene. And so you do one of these. I'm so sorry, guys. That was so crazy. But what are you gonna do? You have to move on with your day. So you continue walking into the store that you want to go to. And that's when you make eye contact with one of the guys that's in the crowd through the glass of the store that you're now in. And he goes like this, it's on your back. And you say, the bat? And he says, yeah, the bat is on your back. And it's also the middle of summer, so you're wearing just like a thin tank top, and this bat you realize must be attached to the tank top because you don't feel it on your back at all. And so naturally, once you realize that this bat is attached to your back, you throw the purse that you're carrying across the store that you're in. You step out of the Boston clogs that you're in, so now you're barefoot. You sprint out of the store back into the middle of the crowd of people. And if you thought that I was making a scene before, you should have seen the scene that I just caused then, because not only was I screaming, but I was also cursing and actively trying to hit this back off of my back. And there are poor mothers with their children around, covering up their children, like shielding them away from me. And obviously nobody's helping me because it's probably rabid and nobody wants to touch the bat. And so finally you hit it with the back of your hand and you feel it, and then you look down and now there's a bat on the floor, and now you're really embarrassed and everyone is like, oh my gosh, like what just happened? And you are apologizing again, and the guy that had helped you in the first place was like, you don't need to apologize, like that was crazy. And then this kind woman comes up to you and she looks at you and you're literally shaking and also still barefoot, and she says, honey, you need to go to the hospital. And you say, right, because I probably have rabies now. And so obviously you start instantly sobbing, and you sprint to the nearest bathroom and you start vigorously washing your hands because you just touched the bat with your bare hand, and you're sobbing, and there's a poor woman washing her hands next to you and she says nothing. And then you leave the bathroom and the kind lady is talking to a security guard and she points at you and says, there she is. And you walk over to the security guard, still sobbing. And he says, I'm going to take your name and number. I'm not really sure the protocol in this situation, but I'll call you. And you say, I don't blame you. I wouldn't expect you to know what to do right now. And then the lady says, I think the bat is like still alive. And you're thinking, like, do you want me to finish it off? Anyways, while you're sobbing and uncontrollably shaking because of what just happened, the woman says, are you going to be able to drive to the hospital? And you say, yeah, like, I think I'll be fine. I just need to like breathe and calm down a little bit. And the security guard goes, do you want me to call you an ambulance? And you say, no, I cannot afford that. So then you get in your car and you drive to the hospital and you're calling your parents in between this, and you're on Google and your parents are on Google looking up coming in contact with a rabid bat, and Google is saying that sometimes you won't even know if they bite you because their teeth are so small you won't even feel it. And they're also saying that if you can, you should collect the bat and take it to the Department of Health to get tested for rabies, because if it comes back negative, you won't need to continue the rabies vaccination. And so the security calls you back from the mall and asks if you're okay. And you say, yeah, I'm just going to the hospital right now. By the way, like, I'm reading all this stuff online that says that you should collect the bat and take it to the Department of Health to get it tested if you can. And they say, absolutely, we're going to do that. And whoever comes and picks it up will give them your contact information so that they can call you. And so you go into the hospital and all of the doctors are absolutely shocked by the story that you tell them. But the doctor looks on your back and he doesn't see any bite marks or anything, and you're like, well, you know, you're reading online and it says sometimes you can't even see the bite marks, but whatever, they're the professionals. And so he asks if they're getting the bat tested. And you say, yeah, they told me they are. And he says, okay, I'm not going to have you get the rabies vaccination right now because it's not protocol unless you were bit or unless we know that the bat was positive for rabies. So if they call you back and tell you that it is, then you should probably come back in and get the shots. And you say, okay, you're a little bit freaked out because everything that you're reading online is telling you that you need to get the vaccination immediately. So then you leave and you call the security back and you say, hey, it's been like 2 hours. Did somebody from the Department of Health come and pick up the bat? And they say, oh, we threw it away. And you say, you threw the bat away? And they said, yeah, my supervisor wanted us to get it out of the mall as quickly as we can, so we just like threw it away across the street. And you're thinking, I'm pretty sure that's illegal if the bat was rabid, okay? But anyways, the bat's not getting tested for rabies anymore. So then you call the doctor back, and this is seriously what he sounds like on the phone. Oh, I don't know, like, I'm not sure, like, if you weren't bit, like, you wouldn't need it, but if they're not getting it tested, like, I don't really know. So now you're really freaking out because nobody is telling you what to do and you're afraid that you're going to die from rabies. And he says that you should call the Department of Health and see what they say. And it's a weekend, so you're calling them, they're not answering, you're calling their 24/7 line, nobody's answering. And so you call the doctor back and you say, I can't get a hold of anybody from the Department of Health. By the way, it's probably 10 p.m. at this point. And he says, I'm kind of thinking you should just start the rabies vaccination series. And you say, thank you. Like, is there any side effects or anything? People keep walking past me and I keep getting embarrassed. But anyways, you say, is there any side effects to this rabies vaccination shot as to like why you're so hesitant to give it to me? He says no. And so you're like, yeah, I'm going to come back in and get that then. And you go back in and I'm going to have to make a part 2.
Something freaky is going on and I'm the only one that lives here and I need to tell somebody and I need some opinions. Can you listen and give me your opinion, please? Okay, look, so me and my husband got a new build house 3 years ago in Vegas. Okay? These are big houses. And the neighbors next door, God, I hope nobody follows me. I hope nobody, okay. We don't really speak, so anyway, when we first moved in, it was a bunch of Mexicans that live next door, and that's fine. That's fine. It makes sense. These are big houses. They got all the bedrooms and all the bathrooms, and I get along with all ethnicities. I'm going to get that out of the way, and I speak Spanish, so I know they were Mexican, because I'd be in the backyard, and I'd hear the Mexican music. I would hear them speaking in Spanish. I could smell the aromatics of the cooking of the Mexican food. And at least once a week, I had to throw a soccer ball back over the wall. We don't have fences. We have walls in Vegas here. And so, after a year of being here, my husband got sent out of town to work, and he has not been back. He's been gone for almost 2 years, bouncing around the country, traveling, working. He comes home to visit. I visit him. That's the point. So, listen to this. Here's the trippy part of what I can't wrap my head around. I'm confused. So, I have a Ring doorbell. I do have a Ring doorbell. And the dynamic over there with the Mexicans, they're not Mexican no more. But hear me out. There was a dad, there was a grandpa, there was a teenage boy, there was a maybe late teen, early 20s girl, a couple of smaller kids, and maybe a few other like teenage, older, early 20s kids in a house, and a mom, and maybe a grandma. It was a lot of them in there, which, like I said, is understandable. There's space. There's plenty of space. And I was going out of town about 3 months ago. Hold on, what is this, December? It was like 3 or 4 months ago. I was going out of town. And I mean, we've spoken before. Me and the Mexicans have spoken before. The kids are always pleasant. They always wave. They always say hi. Sometimes our packages get messed up and we knock on each other's doors to switch packages around and things. I've talked to them before, and I was outside and I was like, I've known these people a long time. So I hollered over because I saw the grandpa outside, and I was like, hey, in Spanish, I said I was getting ready to go visit my husband, and could one of their teenagers, if I paid them, could they watch my cats? Just, come over and feed them once a day, their wet food. And he looked at me crazy. He looked at me like I was crazy. And then this girl comes out the front door. He was right by the front. He was like on the porch. And then this girl comes out, the early 20s girl. And she smiled real big, and I smiled back at her. And she always spoke English, so I spoke to her in English. And I asked her, I was like, hey, I'm about to go visit my husband. I was going to see if I could pay you if you could come over here, once a day and feed the cats. I only got 2 cats, but, they like their wet food. And she looked at the grandpa and started speaking to him in Arabic. And I was like, did I miss something? I missed something. Did I miss something? I think something has been missed. Because I've always spoken to them in Spanish, and they always speak to me in Spanish. And I didn't think much of it. And then a few days later, they had the garage door up, and some people were leaving in like hijabs and full head to toe Arabic garments. And like I said, I get along with all cultures, but I'm confused on exactly what's going on here, because I checked my Ring doorbell. I went way back. The vehicles have not changed. Huh? There's always 2 vehicles parked on the street that belong to the adult children. Then there's 2 vehicles in the garage and 2 vehicles in the driveway. They're all the same vehicles. The vehicles have not changed. But this big family of Hispanics, they were from Mexico, but this big family of Hispanics is now the same size family, the same teenage boy, the same younger kids, the same looking grandpa, the same looking dad, the same looking mom, except now she's in a hijab and covered, and there's the same vehicles. It's the same amount of people. It's the same kind of age group of people. It's the same people. But now they're not Mexican anymore. They're Arabic. They don't speak Spanish no more. It's not the same people. They're the same people. They look like the same people, but they're not the same people. And I've checked my Ring for a U-Haul. I've checked it for anything. But the fact remains, all the cars are the same. They're the same exact cars. What is that? I mean, I mind my business. I stay in, I don't talk to anybody. Them's the only neighbors I know in this whole neighborhood. I got neighbors across from me. I wave at their daughters when they're riding the bikes. Hi, how y'all doing? Cute little girls. I don't talk to nobody else. I always say hi to these people. And they always spoke Spanish to me. And now they don't speak Spanish. Somebody tell me what happened. Can somebody tell me what happened? I mean, the most logical thing is the Mexicans moved out and the Arabic people moved in, which that's fine. But why do they all look the same as the Mexican family? And why do they have the same exact cars? Like the same exact cars. And like one of the cars has a little dent, right? They park going the wrong way on the street. So like they're not parked. I see the driver's side in front of my house on this side. And they have a little dent in the driver door. And that's the same damn car the teenage son was driving with the Mexican family. And it's still there. And now the other teenage son is driving it. And he looks the same, but he don't speak Spanish. Could somebody tell me what happened? I'm so confused. Get off me. I'm so confused. Like, I love the diversity of Vegas. That's one of the reasons I wanted to move to Vegas. There's all kind of languages and ethnicities of all kinds. People around the globe have moved here. And it's nice. And everybody's nice. And it's just nice. But how does a whole entire household full of people switch up from being Mexican to being, is it Arabs? I don't know how to say that. I'm not politically correct. I don't know how to put that. Arabic? Pakistani? I don't know where they're from. The previous ones, I knew they was from Mexico because they said they was from Mexico. Órale pues. Estamos de Mexico. I mean, I spoke to them. I knew where they... If somebody has any ideas, tell me. I talked to my son about it. He thinks they're sleeper cells. Whatever the fuck that is. What's a sleeper cell? It just don't make no sense. How do they got the same cars? How's there the same amount of people? They all look the same. They all look the same. Grandpa, grandma, mom, dad, teenagers, little kids, same cars, all the things. No U-Haul. How? And there's no more soccer balls. There has not been soccer balls across the fence in months. No Mexican music playing. No aromatics of Mexican. I do love Middle Eastern food. There's aromatics of Middle Eastern food now. I know food, obviously. I'm so curious as to what is going on. Should I be worried or should I just not give a fuck? It just don't make any sense. I don't think they're trying to get me or nothing. Like, I still wave at them and they wave at me. They think I'm crazy. They look at me wide-eyed when I'm blaring like ICP or Korn or, you know, any of that shit in my vehicle because I tend to blast my music because I got a fat system in my Yukon, honey, and I'm going to use it. But aside from them looking at me crazy when I'm pulling out the driveway with that stuff on, what happened to my Mexicans? And why do they have the same car?
I caught my dad cheating on my mom with my grandma. No. Too fast, too quick, too much. Pipe it down. 2 notches, 10 notches, 20. When she was on her deathbed! How do you manage to make it worse when I haven't even started? Somebody needs to investigate your life. 3 years ago, my grandma unfortunately unexpectedly got really sick. She was told that she didn't have much time left, and so there was a period where she was basically living at the hospital. And a few days out of the week, we would occasionally eat lunch with her. But there was one time where my mom couldn't come with us, so my dad joined instead. It was just me, my sister, my brother, and my niece. We ordered Domino's to the hospital. The delivery guy took a little longer than we thought. So while we were all sitting around, my dad said, "Can you guys go check if the delivery guy is already here?" And we all said, "Sure." I don't really know why he needed all of us to go check. You really don't? So he can have a little fun? The fuck? So me, my sister, my niece, and my brother all went downstairs. However, on the way downstairs, I forgot my phone upstairs. So I think I wasn't even gone for 5 minutes. Mind you, the hospital is huge. As I wanted to go get my phone, I realized that we didn't close the door properly. So it was still slightly open. So I open it further, but the door is really silent, so you don't hear me coming in. As I walk up to them, there's like a curtain that slightly covers my grandma. I can see that she's still laying down, and I can see that my dad is close to her face. Now, as I get closer to them, I see that my dad's pants are sagging. Is that his mom? What do you mean? What do you mean? When I got closer, and why the fuck would you get close? I saw that his pants were off, and my grandma was doing something with her. I screamed because I was disgusted. As you fucking they both got really scared, and my dad started yelling at me out of nowhere. Don't tell mom, please don't tell her. And he still has the nerve. Bitch, the fuck is on her deathbed, and you still managed to get. How even do you think that's normal? Let me speak to your father. Let me speak to your father. What is going on, honey? Hey, me bomba, you rascal! This was my mom's mom, by the way, not his mom. And why would you put that disclaimer at the end? She passed away 2 months later. R.I.P. In hell! I'm kidding! What do you expect me to say? Oh, she's in a better place. Oh, hey! Don't fucking way! No, let me pay respects. But whatever that. Are you mad, fam? Can you not think properly? No.